Is that a new type of exercise machine for the Farm Fit program?
This is one of our new machines.
Yeah.
It's also called Everybody Needs an Andrew.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're doing something a little bit different today. We're actually going to be talking about how I got into doing the small square bales and how I actually got into doing haying in general. The first thing I gotta do is, since this trailer got snowed on, is get the snow put off, or pushed off, or swept off, or removed. Disappeared, snow gone. Oh yeah, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Trailer again. But if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. This channel basically focuses on things that I do on a day-to-day basis as a 27-year-old second-generation farmer. And one of those things that I do is I put up a lot of small square bales and I deliver that hay to customers, which we are doing today. We are actually taking 150 small square bales up to Indianola today. And during the day, we're going to be talking about the whole process of how I got into haying. To make this hay video, I guess I'm going to need to talk about a couple of things: how I got into starting with the hay, the equipment that I have had, the equipment that we now use, where we market and sell our hay to, and maybe some tips and tricks that I've lost my butt on and things that have actually worked out that might help somebody out. Oh, yeah. So haying was something that I wanted to do after I graduated college. It wasn't something that my father did, but I was just fascinated with it. Actually, I was really fascinated with Wayne, which was across the street, when he'd go out there and he'd mow all his hay down one day and then he'd wait and, you know, rake it and bale it. I was just fascinated by the process. I hadn't been around it, but I did know that I wanted to do it. The first year that I actually mowed hay, I borrowed a case IH, or it was probably just international sickle bind, hay bind, and we put up some hay. Didn't even have a rake, and the person that baled it for us just literally followed the mower around. That's how much we knew about doing hay. Yeah, like we didn't even rake it. It was just they baled the windrows of the mower. Jimmy. He's like, well, the next time I bale, I think I'm gonna need you to rake it. So the second year that I started doing hay, the round bale market was way down. You could barely get $35 for a round bale. So I made the decision with my father that we were going to try and do some small square bales.
I think we only went 3 high last time, didn't we?
What we did was we cut the hay, raked the hay, and we found somebody that had a small square baler with an accumulator system. And we had a shed that we weren't using on a rented farm that we ended up putting about 3,000 small square bales into. And at that point in time, everything really actually went pretty darn well until I hadn't done the market research to figure out where I could really sell these small square bales. And not having a client list of people that had bought the small square bales from me, I had a hard time moving some of these small square bales. To the tune that I actually only got somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 and a quarter or so for some of them small square bales, and it cost me just about that much to get them put up into the shed. So that'd be tip number one for anybody looking to get into the small square bale market. Go to a local auction, see what type of hay is selling really well at that auction. You know, maybe take pictures of it, and then right under the pictures what that hay brought that year. In our area, about 20% alfalfa to the rest orchard grass or a mixed grass is what sells the best. Other areas, it's probably closer to straight alfalfa would be my guess. But in my humble opinion, the best hay, the easiest hay, and the always in demand hay is pure grass hay. So let's talk about equipment now. So the first piece of farm equipment I think I bought was it actually was just a basket rake, a pull behind sideways basket rake. I paid $300 for it, and I actually still have it because it actually works pretty good. If your windrow bottom isn't drying out, you can flip it with it. So I still do have that. The mower that we were borrowing the previous couple of years, it basically wore itself out, or a bearing went bad on it and we couldn't replace it. International discontinued it, so we couldn't get the parts for it. So I was on the hunt for a mower. So I got onto Craigslist. And there on Craigslist, I found myself some Gale, I think it was a Gale, Hydro Swing sickle bind mower that was like for sale for about 1,200 bucks or something like that. And being a college kid that just graduated, didn't have any money, you know, so I stuck $1,200 into a sickle mower, drug it home, you know, and I talked to some of the neighbors because it had a hydro pump that you hook up to the PTO, and I'd never been around that. So I talked to some of the neighbors. They said, yeah, those work or whatever. And so I drove up there and dragged myself back a big old sickle bind. So if you guys have watched any of my other videos, you guys know that I'm pretty close to my neighbor Wayne. And at this point in time, we really started to get to know each other. And I told him that I was bringing this thing home, and I get back and I park it across from the shop there. And all I hear is his Kubota with the hydrostatic motor come zinging up the road. And one thing about Wayne is he'll tell you what he's thinking. So I'm out sitting there unhooking the mower and everything like that, and he shows up and he looks at me and he goes, "What'd you buy that piece of for?" And I had to explain to him that I was going to do some haying. And then after insulting my beautiful new $1,200 sickle mower, he said, no, we'll work out a deal. You can use my disc bind. So I cut hay about once with that thing, and then I put it back on the Craigslist, and she found her way down the road to a merry new home.
Break even on it?
And I did break even on it. I made about 100 bucks on it, but I also did replace a couple hoses, so I would say I broke even on it. So unfortunately at this time, my dad was saying, just hire somebody to do the round bales, just hire somebody to do the round bales. And young Ben that knows everything was thinking, no, I'm gonna go buy a baler. So back to Craigslist. And unfortunately, this Craigslist buy was probably my worst investment that I've ever made. Today, I'm sure there's gonna be more in the future. So I found myself a Vermeer 605 XL baler. It was at an estate and it was for sale for $10,500. I went down there, it looked like a good baler, but what does a good baler look like to a person that's never run around baler? You don't know. So I talked him down to $10,000, took out my first ag loan, and bought myself a round baler. Over the lifetime that I owned this baler, I probably put up somewhere around 1,200-ish bales, and I also probably sunk somewhere in the neighborhood of about $6,000 worth of repair into it. Not a knock on Vermeer balers, because I actually really like the newer Vermeer balers, and if I was to own another round baler, it'd most likely be a Vermeer baler. So here we go to tip number 2, and possibly 3 at the same time. If you have a neighbor that's willing to round bale your bales as a small hay operator, hire them. Don't go out and buy a cheaper baler. Now there's a difference between inexpensive and cheap. Go with inexpensive, don't go with cheap. Like I said, hire somebody to do it, because actually this baler, in essence, didn't put up very nice round bales. I couldn't get the bales to stay tight. The net wrap wouldn't want to put the edge to edge very well, so the bales themselves didn't look very good. So a lot of people will actually nowadays buy bales on the way that it looks. Is it holding its shape? Is the net wrap look good? It's like that adds a lot of value to your bales when it really shouldn't. It should just depend upon the quality inside the bale, but people will buy it by the way that it looks. So you can just about pay for your custom bill if your bales look good. Not completely though. So anyways, after this baler being very unreliable, I decided that it was time to send it down the road to pay off my loan, free up that money to make other investments. So I drug it down to an auction. Now I'm not going to say which auction I drug that baler down to, because I feel like I kind of got swindled at the deal, because there was another baler that was the same as mine, and mine happened to be in better shape. That baler sold before mine, and it sold for about $7,000, and then my baler sold for about $4,200 when I had a $4,000 reserve on it to pay off the rest of my loan. So I lost money big time. But anyways, at this point in time, also the small square bale market was kind of picking up for us, and Dad and I had gone to an auction and bought a new baler, or not a new baler, a new used baler to us, which was a John Deere 338, which we currently still run, that had an accumulator system on it. Oh, look at all the snow on that one. So now we're probably at the point where we need to talk about the equipment that we use currently. And I'll overlay short clips so you guys can actually visually see what it is, and I'm not just rambling off a bunch of numbers to you. For mowers, we use two different mowers. We use a Vermeer 840 disc spine, I believe is what it is. And the other thing that we use, or the other mower that we use, is a John Deere 946 Moco. That's a hydro swing. For rakes, we use a 10-wheel WXR Vermeer rake. It's just a wheeled rake.
12, not 10.
10. Wait, 10?
12.
12 wheel. 12 wheel. My round baling gets custom done by usually one or two neighbors, but Jimmy, the neighbor who actually I did this hay with, along with Art, usually does the baling, and currently he has a 605N baler. That is one sweet rig. It tells you the average moisture and weight of a bales in the field, which is awesome when it goes to selling hay. When putting up the small square bales, we use a John Deere 338 small square baler with a 10 bale Holscher, I think is how you pronounce that, probably. Holscher-ish accumulator that sets them on its edge. When I'm saying on its edge, that they're stacked like this, which is a great way to put them into your barn because they hold their shape and their strings stay tight. And we also have two sets of 10 bale grapples. Now that you've got your hay cut, raked, and baled, you've got to come up with a way to move your hay and store your hay. To move the hay around, we use gooseneck trailers mainly. We have this trailer here, but it also doubles as a spray trailer, so it's not always available. We use a Maclander trailer that's like 28 feet or something like that. That's more of a car trailer style deal. And if I'm baling or making hay with other neighbors, usually they have a hay trailer or something along those lines, or trailers that we can put the hay onto, because you really want to get that hay out of the field first thing. But now that you've got your hay loaded up out of the field, now we're on to tip 3 or 4 maybe, I'm not sure which tip we're on to, is you need to have storage. And if you can, have cheap storage. The first year that we did the small square bales, we used a barn that was on a farm that we rented. Well, that farm happened to sell at a price where we couldn't buy it, or we couldn't contend with the person that bought it, and we couldn't rent the barn, so we ended up having to put up I think it's a 40 by 50 barn or something like that maybe, or yeah, we put up the hay shed. You guys have seen the hay shed. But in that hay shed, I think we can put somewhere a little over 2,000 small square bales in there. But I can put up more than that during the year, so you have to come up with ways to store these small square bales or get rid of them, because you can't leave them outside. So here's where the next tip comes in. Favor or give the people that will take their hay delivery during the year a little bit better price, where you can just put the hay onto a trailer, deliver it to them, put them into their shed. You don't have to worry about storing it. You can also do things like this, where you find an older building that really isn't being used for very much, and you just rat hole about 100 or so in odd places. Now we're on to the subject of how do you get the fields to make your hay in. There's always going to be a demand for these small square bales because people don't have the equipment to feed the other bales, and usually you can keep or set your price on your small square bales depending on the quality of them. That being said, I don't have a lot of hay ground at all whatsoever, and in the past with the lower hay prices, I've been able to go to neighbors that have good quality hay, like a second or third or possibly fourth cutting hay, that won't yield as many bales per acre that they really kind of need to put up into a round bale and it makes sense. But I can go out there, cut the hay, rake the hay, bale the hay on shares with them, and they'll actually end up with as much money or more money than they would if they put it up in the round bales. And that has given me the opportunity to actually meet a lot of neighbors, work with a lot of neighbors, and put myself to work. Now, if you're watching this video thinking that, hey, I'm going to do small square bales because it's my get rich program, don't watch any farming videos. There's no get rich program in farming. But the good thing about the small square bales is that today is December 19th? 18th. December 18th. And I can pay myself a wage today because I'm out here moving small square bales where the ground's frozen, there's no dirt work to be done. It's like I'm now working, and that's what these small square bales have allotted me over the past 7 years of farming, is to give myself a day's worth of work by delivering, moving, and selling small square bales. And Andrew just pointed out that I forgot another piece of haying equipment to mention, is that that inline trailer that you guys saw in that Amish auction video up there. And also I didn't cover any of the tractors that we use. That's kind of a no-brainer. You need a tractor to hay with. Stack. Don't worry, there's still plenty of open spaces in our Farm Fit program. Sign up. All right, we just got those checked out after moving it out of here. We're ready to head up to Indianola. It shouldn't take us too long. It'll only take us to about now. We're here up in Indianola. We're going to be putting the hay in this shed right here. We got some hay in here already, but we're going to back the trailer in and get her offloaded. Let's get it done. Now we just do the opposite of what we did, just a little, yeah, you guys get it. Tip number 652, stack nice stacks for your customers. Like that. Well, there she is, 150 small square bales put up into a shed for a customer. I should probably talk about why I continue to do these small square bales. We talk about how you really don't make a whole lot of money doing small square bales, but you can pay yourself to work. I really think it comes down to the fact that, like, I enjoy it. like, I do thoroughly enjoy it. I like the challenge of putting up really good hay, kind of comparing my hay to other people's hay when we put it up. I really enjoy the people that I get to put hay up with, you know, the neighbors, meeting with them, working with them. That's a pretty good darn time to do that. And then that includes Andrew. And also all the customers that I've gotten to meet all over the years. I couldn't tell you how many people have bought hay from me before, and where I've delivered it to, it's been all over the place, and have met some pretty nice and pretty interesting people over the years. So that's why I continue to do it. I will probably continue to do it as long as I am able-bodied. And
able-bodied and weak-minded.
there you go. So, but it's something I wouldn't discourage anybody, especially a young farmer looking for something to do. Small square bales is a great way to network with neighbors, work with neighbors, and put yourself to work, because that's one of the most important things for a young farmer to be doing, is working. There it is, and there's a horse. So we're headed back home. Trip to Indianola is done. It's also going to end the video, guys. Andrew, you got any words of wisdom for the great people of YouTube?
Yeah, where are we getting lunch?
Oh, that's a good place.
YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah. Let's get home. See you guys. Well, guys, on the way home, if you look out there in the field, Andrew spotted himself an angry John Deere. Look at that old axial flow combine. She's I'd say she's kind of in a hole right there.
It's got something to be mad about.
Yeah, that's one angry John Deere.